100% ownership belongs to the terminal link. CMA, CGM with a 51% holding. Just like on YouTube, forgive your brain some new food. Hello people and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time on the channel, a special welcome to you. I ask that you check out the rest of my videos. If you like what you see, give them a thumbs up, leave a comment, but more than anything, I'm asking that you subscribe to the channel. Today, I'm gonna set the record straight with all this buzz that's going around about Chinese company and China taking over the Jamaican Freeport in Kingston, that is. I had a subscriber, a friend of mine, send through a link to me for me to see what others were saying about Chinese taking over Jamaica's Freeport. And I did some research on my own independently to see what was reported publicly and what is actually going on with this buzz. Is it true? Is it false? And from what I have scoured, from what I have conjured on my own, from what my investigation or my researches have led me to find, I have to disagree with the statement of China taking over Jamaica's Freeport. As you know, in the last years, I would say 3, 4, 5 years, Jamaicans have been a bit suspicious of the influx of Chinese immigrants that are in Jamaica. At first, it seemed as if they were there to work, and after the work done, we were expecting some majority to go back to China, but it seemed like the Chinese are in Jamaica to stay. It seemed. I emphasize on the word seem because I'm not on the ground in Jamaica, so I don't know, is their work finished in Jamaica or do they have more work to do? However, we should not make our negative suspicion and personal biases paint all the Chinese as negative. I'm a Jamaican and I'm a proud Jamaican, and I am not in support of any other nationality taking over the country of Jamaica. Jamaica is for Jamaicans, is what I always say on my channel. However, Jamaicans have always welcomed and accommodated other nationalities. We go to other people's country and take up residence, so it's okay for them to come to our country and take up residence, whether that is temporary residence or permanent residence, but we are not in support of a takeover regime. So now that I've made that clear, let me address the headlines that I've seen in the newspaper. One headline read that Chinese firm now has full control over Kingston Freeport Management Company. And the other headline that I read says Chinese firm takes over Kingston Freeport Management Company. Takes over Kingston Freeport Management Company. However, I think what most people read was Chinese firm takes over Kingston Freeport. Full stop. I think that's what people saw when they read the headlines. I'm going to say it again. The headline says Chinese firm takes over Kingston Freeport Management Company. I think people saw Chinese firm takes over Kingston Freeport. Done. And because of that, it created this whole buzz and a negative buzz in regards of the Chinese presence in Jamaica. I'm doing this video because I want Caribbean people, black people worldwide, and especially Jamaicans to know facts before we open our mouth or before we paint the kettle black. So in this case, we're suspicious of Chinese being in Jamaica. I am too. There's a lot of them and they've been lingering for a long time. Are they friends? Are they foe? Only time will tell, but we don't want, when time do tell, it's too late. So it's okay to be suspicious, but at the same time, we should try to get closer to the source, closer to what's going on. In other words, press our government to let us know what's the deal with China and us, and what are the give and take with China and us. But when the paper publishes that Chinese firms takes over Kingston Freeport Management Company, I am against any black person or Jamaican who read into that it says Chinese firm takes over Kingston Freeport, because that's not what it says. It says the Chinese firm has now takes over Kingston Freeport Management Company. What I got from that before I even researched it was Kingston Freeport belongs to Jamaica. And for one reason or another, they believe that they need external people to manage the Freeport. Maybe Jamaicans believe that they're not equipped or adequate enough to manage it on their own. So they decided to take in partners to manage it. Managing the Freeport, from my understanding, in no ways interprets to owning the Freeport. To my understanding, and from what I read that established a more transparent understanding to me, is that 100% ownership belongs to the terminal link, CMA, CGM, with a 51% holding. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. My understanding of venture is an experiment, a probationary period, a temporary time that could be extended. If that is a fact, and I understand it, and my understanding is correct, then I don't see the big deal. Another reason why I don't see a big deal, and I'm more like licking out against the people who are kind of trying to create a negative view of this situation, is because after researching this whole Freeport ownership and management over the years, I realized that there's always been some joint venture with Jamaica going on, whether that's with the French or that's with the Canadians. So it's kind of unfair that we've never looked into it before to see who runs the Kingston Freeport, say 10 years ago, find out that maybe it was a Canadian or maybe it was the French, and we didn't make a big deal out of it. But all of a sudden, China, who gets themselves involved in the Freeport business in Jamaica under a 30-year concession contract. A 30-year concession contract, it means they still work for the Jamaican government. It means the Jamaican government are still the shot callers for what goes on at the Jamaica Freeport. And China, or Chinese firm, this Chinese firm is just a firm. Maybe Jamaica believe that of all the nationalities around the world who runs Freeport businesses and understand port authority, who's better than the Chinese? I mean, the Chinese is proven for centuries, or decades I should say, that they are the best when it comes to port authorities. So for once, I'm kind of siding with the Chinese in Jamaica, their presence in Jamaica where this management situation is concerned, and looking at it from a legal point of view and an employment point of view. This Chinese company has a 30-year contract to be the management of the Jamaica Kingston Freeport, and I'm not sure, but I would only assume that, like in most contracts, there are clauses that if they don't deliver as the Jamaican government expect, then their 30-year concession could be terminated at any time. That's usually how a decent legal contract is written up. Anyway, considering that I don't have a lot to say about the Chinese firm that's taken over the management of the Kingston Freeport, I've decided to add something else to this vlog in order to substantiate it, to make it a wholesome vlog. I came across a topic that I believe that would be helpful to Jamaicans in Jamaica, especially to the ones who might have happened to have a criminal record in Jamaica, someone who have been incarcerated in Jamaica, or somebody who have been arrested in Jamaica. I came across an article which encourages Jamaicans who have a criminal record in Jamaica to seek an expungement of that criminal record. So I just thought, let me echo it here, because I'm all for human rights. I'm all for helping another person. I'm all for seeing my black people out of chains and out of oppression. And when the Jamaican government opens a door like this, I believe that Jamaicans who need this kind of relief should take advantage of it. The article is saying anyone that has been incarcerated or sentenced to either a non-custodial sentence or a sentence not exceeding 5 years, those are the easiest people to have their records in Jamaica expunged. However, if you have done time in prison for more than 5 years, it does not mean that your record is impossible to be expunged. It just means that you don't fall under the most acceptable and expungible category. But if you've done 5 years and a day, 6 years, 7 years, your record could also be expunged. I encourage Jamaicans who have been incarcerated or has a criminal record in Jamaica to seek this relief, because it is helpful. As what I've read, I would support that. It is helpful in one becoming more employable, and if one wishes to travel overseas where one has to require a visa, not having a criminal record in one's own country is a better look and will make one more successful in attaining a visa. So once again, I am encouraging Jamaicans, those who have acquired a criminal record for whatever reason, to seek relief to the Ministry of Justice website. However, I did read that there are some cases that are non-expungible. So if you were like involved in aggravated cases such as maybe rapes or maybe international drug trafficking or stuff like that, it could be way more difficult, impossible for you. However, I would rather encourage you to visit the website and see where your category falls in from where it falls out. Speaking of criminals, might as well I just touch the subject of criminals abroad and criminals in Jamaica, especially when it comes to deportees from Canada, England, USA, the places that Jamaicans are mostly deported from. Before I get into that, let me just plug a story that I watched recently about a Vietnamese individual who was, in my opinion, treated wrongly by the United States of America, and I decided that it's only right that I mention it on my channel, because Martin Luther King says, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I truly believe into that. Anyway, let me get on with the story. I'll make it real quick, real fast, and then let you guys come to your own conclusion. So a 3-year-old Vietnamese child was adopted and taken to the United States of America in the 1970s. 6 years after he was adopted in the United States of America, the parents who adopted him didn't want him anymore, so he went to another adopted family who abused them and sexually assaulted him, and they were arrested and sent to prison, so he had to move on to a third family. While he was at the third family, he was now a teenage boy, so he went to the old house to try to retrieve his Vietnamese Bible. He was charged for breaking and entering, and he served 2 years in prison for that. Anyway, moving on. 37 years later, after being in the United States of America, the United States government says there was a line on his adoption form that was not filled out 37 years ago, and because of that, he's not American, and he had to be deported from the United States of America. He was deported from the United States of America back to Vietnam, where he looked like everybody but didn't think like everybody, didn't sound like everybody. Eventually, this person committed suicide and is no longer sharing this planet with us. Sad? Of course it is sad. Who's really the victim and who is really the abuser in this situation? What can I say? America, like all countries, have their rules. Rules change every day. 37 years later, to say he's an illegal immigrant, I can say it's unfair. I can't say it's legally wrong, but I can say it's morally wrong. Anyway, because of that, and because of the article that I read about Jamaicans should get their records expunged, I decided to address Jamaican deportees who committed crimes in the United States of America, or who allegedly committed crime in the United States of America, and I sent back to Jamaica. To my understanding, and what is legally correct, someone who committed a crime or allegedly committed a crime in the United States of America is a criminal under the United States of America law. in the United States and in all territories that belong to the United States of America. Therefore, if someone commits a crime in the United States of America, or someone is conceived as a criminal in the United States of America, that person should and is seen as a criminal in the U.S. Virgin Islands. However, that person should not be seen as a criminal in the British Virgin Islands because of jurisdiction. So, when people are said to have been criminals in the United States of America and are deported to Jamaica, I don't believe that it should be morally seen or legally seen as them being criminals in Jamaica. They never broke any Jamaican law. They never commit any crime in Jamaica. So one of my subscribers already tackled me in this matter, and they asked me, what if that person was sent to prison in America for, say, raping little children? And I say, legally speaking, we cannot hold that person in Jamaica or in any other country as a pedophile or a sex offender or a rapist. Why? Because America is not the whole world. We don't know for a fact if America's judgment are gospel. We can't hold America's judgment as gospel people. Not because America say that person is a thief, mean that person is actually a thief. If America says that person is a thief, that person should be seen as a thief in the United States of America. That person cannot be seen as a thief in Jamaica because he's not broken any law in Jamaica. He's not stolen anything in Jamaica. Another reason why I'm actually against that viewpoint of Jamaicans seeing convicts from the U.S. who got deported to Jamaica as criminals is because I still see it like Jamaica sees the United States of America as godlike, as honest, as true, and as pure. I don't. So I'm definitely against that viewpoint because it's given the Americans and the American government the mindset that they can change the whole world, you know? And I want Jamaicans and Caribbean people to take their mind out of that tunnel vision. You know, travel, see the world, and then maybe you guys will be in more of agreement with how I view the world and how I see life and people. Because recently I did a live video and someone asked me, what's the drug problem like in Switzerland where I live? And I says, in Switzerland there's no drug problem. And I would only imagine that to that person, it either set them aback or probably wondered if I understood the question. But I understood the question to more than that person understood. Because what I get from that person, I got also that maybe, just maybe, that person sees every country running the very same way like the United States of America does. Crackheads, potheads, abandoned buildings, projects building, and all that. And that doesn't exist in Switzerland. And for some people who have never left North American continent, maybe that's very hard for them to see. But the minute you start traveling the world, then you will understand justice is indeed blind. And if justice is indeed blind, then justice is gonna do what blind does. Blind doesn't see everything. And if blind doesn't see everything, it simply means that blind doesn't see the truth. And if blind doesn't see the truth, it simply means that oftentimes you're gonna send somebody to prison for something that they didn't do. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of that. If you want me to elaborate more on that, I could do a whole vlog out of it. But then I just thought, let me just tack them together because one thing does relate to another and see how my viewers or subscribers respond. And depending on how you guys respond, I will do a follow-up in regards to criminals there, criminals here, meaning criminals overseas and criminals in Jamaica. Anyway, people, that's all I have to say for now. As you know on my channel, I accept thumbs up, I accept thumbs down. I accept agreement and disagreement because at the end of the day, people, Each one teach one. You've reached the end of my video, and that in itself is a support that I truly appreciate. And while I'm at it, I will take this time out to let you guys know other ways that you can support my channel. The first and simplest way that you can support my channel is by giving this video a thumbs up. And the second and most important way that you can support this channel is by hitting that subscribe button and subscribe to my channel and follow me through my YouTube journey. Other ways that you can support my channel is by going to my Teespring online store and buying some of my merch. And another way that you guys can also support this channel is by joining me in Patreon to give me a contribution to support what I do on YouTube and what I do to entertain you guys. Once again, I want to thank you guys for your continuous support and ask that you join me, Ian T. Sebast, on YouTube and see where my journey takes me. Until next time, people, peace.